wow, I've been watching my past videos from the past few days, and wow, I was so not myself. I was so freaked out and like uptight, and that job was freaking sucking the life out of me. And oh my God, those little teeny tiny paychecks, that was sucking the life out of me. And the roommate living here that I couldn't stand, I've given her the deadline to get out. That's a long story. So this video is going to be about the thinning of the veil and my best experience about it. So I'm just going to dive right in and skip all the back bullshit of what brought me to this point. So I'm just going to talk about like the thinning of the veil, the most intense experience that I've had. One of the most intense experiences. I've had a lot of experiences since I was a kid. Like I've experienced like beings in my house and things going on in my house when I was a kid that freaked me out basically as a child, because all kids are afraid of the monster under the bed. My monsters didn't go under my bed. They went in my kitchen and got a drink. They knocked shit off my table, my kitchen table. The monsters in my house were real when I was a kid. So I've been kind of dealing with this like my whole life. And as a kid, it really did freak me out. But as I became older, I learned to accept the fact that I could kind of see things and happenings from the other side. I don't know how to explain it. It has to be from the other side because there's no other explanation. Y'all forgive my like weird hairdo tonight because I just came out of the shower and I didn't style and I'm wearing my pajamas. And I'm totally relaxed in my house tonight. Feeling so relaxed after leaving that job. Oh, that job had me like bitchy and gritchy. So, okay. So I'm partaking of a little blueberry shisha again tonight, and I'm still working on that same box of wine, even though this is the day after Halloween. So it's gone quite a ways, and yeah, so I'm totally relaxed tonight. So I want to tell you, with no further ado, about one of my most incredible experiences with beings from the other side. So back in the 90s, I had been in a relationship where I was raising two daughters with their stepdad. And we had a total of four four-wheelers. One for me, one for him, and one for each of my daughters. And then we also made friends with some people. We owned 60 acres in Missouri that we visited on the weekends. And these people had, they didn't have four-wheelers, but they had 3 kids and they had horses. So on Friday nights, that was my big thing, was to, load up the van, load up the kids, load up the supplies, and go to our property on the weekends and just ride and just experience it. Blueberry, yummy. So we went down on a Friday night, and this was probably about a month before Halloween or Samhain. This was in the early stages of fall. And we went to their place, and just like in a Blair Witch Project, you know how they say they're going up to the shanty, the shack, or whatever? There really are those places. There are these houses that have been abandoned for whatever reason, these properties with houses on them that have been abandoned. And they are kind of scary to walk up to or drive up to. And they're usually 2-story. When you walk in, there's no glass in the windows. It's just open panes of nothing. And sometimes there's holes in the floors. If I can dig through my old photos, I'll show you some pictures. We used to wear these, they weren't Carhartt. They were one-piece downfield jumpers, and the kids had them and I had them for when it got really cold on the four-wheeler. And then in the middle of the day, it would become really hot. You'd kind of peel out of your clothes and pack those away, and you'd be wearing, regular t-shirts and jeans or whatever. And you just rode on these gravel roads, and you just went through the woods, and then you'd see one of these shacks or shanties or abandoned houses. And there was no signs or anything that said no trespassing, no this, no that. So we went down there on a Friday night, and we met up with our friends, and we gathered the four-wheelers and the kids, and they said, look, there's a place down the road where we can go and just check out this old abandoned house. Yeah, it was what it sounds like. It was exciting, and it was a cool place to go, and the kids wanted to go, so we all just jumped on the four-wheelers and the horses, and we went maybe a mile and a half down the road from where they lived in their trailer, and went down there. So it was a house. It was just a house, right? And it was maybe, I don't know, 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night, something like that. Yeah, I had my kids up late, but you know what? My kids had a really good childhood. They were they were really excited to go there, and they had their little friends. So anyway, so we all went inside the house, and it is kind of like what they show in Blair Witch, except no handprints on the walls or anything like that. It's like a fireplace that's kind of dilapidated and caving in. There's piles and piles of clothes. I don't know why people leave clothes behind, but they tend to leave clothes behind. Kitchen cabinets and things are left open. The sink, everything's not working. It's just an abandoned house. And so we go in there, and it's kind of caving in, but it's still relatively safe, or I wouldn't let my kids go in there. So we kind of run around, and it's just like you hear in the movie. Your voices kind of echo, and everybody goes off in their own room, and everybody's, look at this, look at that, and everybody's looking through the piles of clothes and the toys and the things that are left behind, and you're just kind of all running around, kind of all helter-skelter. So the parents go back outside, and the kids are still running around. We can all hear our kids. They're just on the first floor, and the kids are running and playing, and we're all outside hanging out and talking about our week and talking about what we did at work and talking about things on the farm, and they raised turkeys, and we're talking about stuff, we're just talking, we're just hanging out and just rap, and we're just talking. So as the night wears on a little bit, it's maybe 11:30 at night, and the kids are like, hey, we bet you guys aren't brave enough to go upstairs by yourselves. And we said, you guys first. So we dare all the kids to go upstairs by themselves first. So they do. They run upstairs, and they're like hanging out the window. They're like, we're upstairs. And we're like, oh, that's cool. Come on back down, because y'all, we don't know what the floorboards are like and stuff. Come out of the house and stuff. So they come back outside, and they're running around the yard like kids do. And they're playing on their four-wheelers, and they're running around and stuff. And so the parents' turn to go upstairs by themselves comes up. And the kids are like, okay, we went up there, you guys have to go up there. So we're like, okay. So to appease the kids, we decide, we're going to go upstairs. So we do. So we go upstairs. So anybody who's never explored a really, really old abandoned house doesn't realize that in place of insulation, back in the day, they used to use wadded up newspaper as insulation. And so they would wad up newspapers, and they'd shove it in the walls, and then they put up whatever between the lath, and I don't know all the technical terms, but there were newspapers that's such a fire hazard today. Like, can you imagine your walls are insulated with old newspaper? That would never pass code today. But okay, so they used to do that back in the day. So we're up there, and you're totally able to look out over the kids because there's no panes of glass. We're just looking out over the kids, and they're down below, and they're playing tag and whatnot, like kids do. And the four of us, the four adults, 2 guys, 2 girls, we're all standing around. We're just talking because we're so excited to be together this weekend. So the guys, there's this big hole in the wall, this big hole. And all these old newspapers from like, I think they were from the 40s to 50s, whatever. I don't remember the dates. But the point is, they were old newspaper articles, and they're wadded up and they're shoved in the walls. So the guys are standing there, and they're pulling out these newspapers, and they're like carefully unwrapping them, and they're reading the newspapers. And me and my friend, we're kind of looking like at them, like, what are you guys looking at? What are you reading? But she and I are still talking. And like excited friends do to see each other. And we're talking, and then out of the corner of my eye, there's a third guy. And he's looking over my husband then, and my friend's husband. He's looking over their shoulder, and he's reading this newspaper article. And I'm like thinking, shit, did I just see that? And I'm brushing it off, and I'm thinking, yeah, maybe I saw that, maybe I didn't. So I don't say anything because I don't want anybody to think like I'm like weird or something. So we hang out for a little bit while, and I'm like, I'm ready to go downstairs and check on the kids, or go out in the yard and check on the kids. So we all go back down, we go outside, and we're standing out in the yard, we're hanging out around our four-wheelers, and I said, you guys, not to sound weird or anything, but when we were up there, I swear I saw a guy. And my friend Rhonda said, you mean that tall, lanky guy in the red flannel shirt who was reading newspapers? And I was like, oh my God, you saw the same guy? You saw that? And she's like, I totally saw him. I totally saw him. She described him exactly as I described him. You guys, I'm getting chills just talking about this and just remembering this. But that was one of the most intense experiences I had, experiencing that whole thinning of the veil with another person, that I've ever experienced. I've experienced ghosts or beings or experiences, voices, everything else. I've experienced it before it and after it. But that was one of the most intense experiences I've ever known, where me and another person saw the exact same being at the exact same time. And the fact that she could describe him before I ever talked about him, that I knew what I was seeing. So explain that away, mass hysteria, whatever, the best you want to, for you non-believers. But I know what I saw, and we weren't smoking dope. We hadn't even cracked a beer yet, you guys. Yeah, it was pretty intense. So if you have an experience like that, I'd love to hear it. Okay, blessings.